We started our trip by driving as far as we could after working all day, and while Mike tried to convince me that we could sleep in the car, instead I found a place for under €100 in Rouen.
Nice job!
Rouen is definitely worth a visit. We started our morning in this beautiful historic square where Joan of Arc was tried and burned at the stake in 1431.
Spot.
Then we wandered into the heart of the old town, where these crooked, half-timbered buildings from the Middle Ages leaned over the streets. Many of these date back to the 14th and 15th centuries. This is one of France's oldest astronomical clocks, built in the 14th century. Its golden face has watched over France for over 600 years, ticking silently above an arched Renaissance gateway that once served as part of the city's fortifications. Finally, we arrived at the breathtaking Notre Dame Cathedral, towering over the city with its 151-meter spire, the tallest in France. This Gothic masterpiece took centuries to complete. It was a favorite subject of Claude Monet, who captured its ever-changing facade in his famous series of paintings. Rouen is a definite worthwhile visit. Leaving behind the medieval charm of Rouen, we made our way to the windswept coast of Normandy, to the town of Fecamp, a hidden gem perched on the Alabaster coast. It started out as a cloudy day, so we took in the views and headed down to the rocky beach. The sound of the water coming over the rocks reminded me a lot of Nice. Fecamp has a thriving fishing port, especially famed for its cod and herring. Of course, we were hoping for some sunshine, and we found it in Etretat. Just a short drive from Fecamp is Etretat, a perfect seaside town, world famous for its towering white chalk cliffs and sculpted sea arches. We started our hike just past the beach, following a steep but well-marked trail that winds up through the grassy bluffs and wildflower-covered hills. The climb brings you to the iconic view of the arch that plunges into the sea. Then as you look out, you can see the 70-meter-tall needle rock spires. The weather and the views were just too nice, so we couldn't get enough of this place. We hung out for quite a while, taking videos and pictures and just enjoying the surroundings. Of course, we had to stop in town for some mussels. Mussels and fries is such a signature dish. We followed that up with the Café Gourmand, which is typically 3 or 4 bite-sized desserts chosen by the chef, served at the cafe. So delicious. After relaxing and spending some time near the cliffs and by the sea, we decided to hike up on the other side of the cliffs. The highlight of that was just these cows. I could spend all day watching and hanging out with cows. Next, we stopped into Deauville, the seaside town often known as the Parisian Riviera. We started with the stroll along the iconic Promenade des Blanches, the wooden boardwalk lined with beach cabins bearing the names of legendary film stars. Of course, we had to walk out onto the wide, sandy beach to snap some photos with the colorful parasols and the classic lifeguard tower. I can't imagine how many people spend their time here in the summer. Next, we headed into town, the designer boutiques, the cafes, and a hint of old world luxury. There were tributes to the women of the Second World War. These moving displays are part of Deauville's effort to highlight often overlooked heroines in history. One of the things that made Normandy such an easy place to travel to was the ease of booking accommodations. Because we had no idea how far we would make it each day, I was able to book places on the spot. So for €88, we've been really lucky with these little rooms. This is in an old, early 18th century old house, but look at the cute little room. Here, little bar area, window, and a nice little bathroom too. Yeah, it opened at 8. Honfleur is a picturesque port town nestled at the mouth of the Seine River. It's known for its narrow streets and slate-covered houses. The vibrant harbor feels like a painting. The charming town was a favorite for Impressionist painters. It's the perfect town to stroll along the colorful boats and cafes that line the waterfront. From the coast, we headed inland to the heart of Normandy's countryside, to Beauvron Au Auge, one of France's officially designated most beautiful villages. It's small but full of charm, full of art galleries, antique shops, and cozy cafes. It's also the perfect starting point for the cider route, a 40-kilometer scenic loop through the apple orchards and rolling green hills. We didn't do the cider route, but we wanted to actually stop into this little town. We were actually going to skip Mont Saint Michel because we didn't think we'd have it in us to drive all the way out there. I am so glad we decided to do it.
My husband's kind of afraid of live animals. He's afraid of cows and sheep. Look at these guys!
Our adventure started by visiting all the sheep that are out in the pastures that surround Mont Saint Michel, but it was going to get a whole lot more adventurous. Leave it to Mike. Mont Saint Michel is well known for its dramatic tides. It's either surrounded by water or by the mud. I told Mike that it was advised you don't do this without a guide because you could get yourself into trouble by sinking into the mud. He didn't want to listen. Challenging my sense of adventure, I decided to follow, but I made sure that he went first. And then this happened. When he sank down to his knees, there was no way I was going to continue, so we turned around. There are guides for a reason. Since I'm the travel planner, I knew better. The bridge seemed like the much safer way to get there, and we still had just as much fun. We were just covered with mud at this point. We still wanted to get our feet into the mud, so we crossed the bridge and then headed back out. Here we could see loads of people that were crossing with their guides in the water, so we decided to explore.
Okay, going in.
We finally made it into the Abbey, but first things first, I had to get all this mud off my feet.
Maybe 2 hours later.
The Abbey was beautiful, but get ready for crowds. That town is packed. You can barely get through the streets. The fun was really getting there and leaving, but I'm so glad we made it out there.
It's a sledgehammer.
The Abbey of Mont Saint Michel has watched over the bay for more than 1,000 years. Founded in 966 by Benedictine monks, it became a major medieval pilgrimage site. The Meandres was my favorite photo spot. The winding tidal channels are carved by centuries of shifting waters. The natural curves snake through the vast mud flats and salt meadows, creating a surreal, ever-changing pattern that's best seen from above. We spent some time out there videotaping and having a little fun. I had no idea what Mike was doing behind me, but got a good laugh looking back at these memories. Day 3 was a journey through the heart of Normandy's World War II history. We began at the Caen Memorial Museum, often called the best World War II museum in France. Through powerful exhibits, personal stories, and original footage, the museum traces the rise of fascism, the brutality of war, and the immense human cost, all building toward the pivotal events of D-Day. We made a really quick stop at the cliffs of the Arromanches, where remnants of the Mulberry Harbor still lie offshore. These massive floating structures were engineered by the Allies to rapidly offload troops and supplies. Next, we arrived at Omaha Beach, one of the bloodiest landing zones on June 6, 1944. Standing on the sand, it's hard to imagine the chaos and courage that unfolded here. Next, we stopped at Pont Du Hoc, where U.S. Army Rangers scaled sheer cliffs under heavy fire to take out German artillery positions. The bomb craters and shattered bunkers remain frozen in time, a powerful reminder of the bravery it took to gain every inch of ground. I'm really not a huge history buff, but today truly wasn't about just visiting places. It was walking through history and really thinking about what these brave men and women, so many so young, went through to fight for the freedom that so many of us take for granted today. Next, we stopped at Utah Beach. This is where American forces landed with less resistance, but the mission was still vital. Today, the peaceful shore and museum honor the bravery that helped turn the tide of the war. Right before our trip out to Normandy, Mike and I watched Band of Brothers. The town of Saint-Mère-Englis was the first town in France liberated by American paratroopers on D-Day. In the early hours of June 6, 1944, soldiers dropped into and around the town under enemy fire. One paratrooper got caught in the church steeple, a moment still remembered today with the mannequin and parachute hanging in his honor. We stayed in the cute little town of Bayeaux our last 2 nights. It was the first major town liberated after D-Day and remarkably escaped major destruction. Our final stop on Memorial Day morning was the Normandy American Cemetary. Overlooking Omaha Beach, nearly 9,400 American soldiers are buried here, each white cross and Star of David a quiet testament to sacrifice. The rows stretch endlessly across the green lawn, perfectly aligned, facing west toward home. Standing here with flags fluttering and the sound of waves below is deeply humbling. It's a place of honor, memory, and gratitude, where freedom has a face and every name tells a story. I wouldn't change a thing on our itinerary around Normandy. It was one that brought together the region's breathtaking beauty, the rich culture, and a deep history. From the medieval streets of Rouen to the cliffs of Etretat to the cider roads and coastal charm of Deauville and Honfleur, every stop offered a glimpse into the soul of Normandy. But it was the solemn ground at the D-Day beaches, the powerful memorials, and the silent rows of the American Cemetery that reminded us why we came. To honor the courage, the sacrifice, and legacy of those who gave everything. Normandy isn't just a destination, it's a living tribute, a place where beauty and history walk hand in hand, and where every step tells a story worth remembering.